welcome to the Productivity Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about sleep. So this podcast isn't designed to make you go to sleep. It's designed with the help of our friend Riley Jarvis, who is the owner and CEO at The Sleep Consultant, to help you sleep better. Hi Riley, how are you?
Hey Simon, I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
Good, thanks. And that's not a British accent I detect, so where are you based?
I am in Canada, Vancouver, Canada.
Excellent. So I've got some topical questions because we're going through a heat wave at the time we're recording in the UK, but I will save those till later. Just tell us a bit about the Sleep Consultant business. Give us a bit of an intro about yourself, a career background.
Yeah, absolutely. So just quick story about myself. I've been on the sleep journey for about 10 years or so. I was originally working in the finance industry, working about 12 to 18-hour workdays, sort of in investment banking. That's what I went to school for, private equity. But 6 months into the job, my health started to deteriorate and I was forced to quit my job, kind of fell into a deep depression. Kind of felt cornered from all sides, saw a couple dozen specialists, and turns out the diagnosis was Crohn's disease, which is, inflammation of your entire body, specifically your bowels. And it was sort of through this process, side effects of medication couldn't really do too much for me. So with my back against the wall, I really took health into my own hands. And 1 month I would try diet, 1 month I would try exercise. So when I got to that sleep month, everything just started to really come together for me until I put my Crohn's into 100% complete remission. And then it was just sort of through my own journey. I started helping friends of friends. And then I just, it just kind of grew over the years to just this international thing where I'm helping other people, not who's in a disease state. I like showing people what the potential is, but more so for people to be high performers, increase productivity, remove stress, build better relationships, and everything that comes along with it. So today, what we do at the Sleep Consultant is we work with CEOs, entrepreneurs, athletes, but it's really everybody at this point because we all, sleep. There's no way, getting around that. And and how I do that is I have video programs, but I also send lab test kits directly to people's houses. We look at about 800 biomarkers, all their genetics, their gut, their hormones, and kind of look, under the hood of their biology to see what's actually going on. So instead of guessing, we're actually testing. And that's where people can get better really quickly. But, it just depends on where people are at.
So quite a journey you've been on then to kind of get you there. You've had to ride the roller coaster, some of the downs, but it sounds like you're on one of the upward trajectories now in terms of the business and where you're at personally with your health.
Exactly. Yeah. It's something that, when I was really feeling, in the depths of that darkness that I felt like at the time, I was like, I do not wish this upon my worst enemy. So, now I've kind of taken it, like any clients that I have, take their results personally. And, it's like, it's not work for me. It's really a joy to see the transformations opposed to looking at balance sheets, looking at financial statements all day long, just for years, like this is just so much more meaningful to me. So it's great in different scenarios every day.
Good. So I think sleep's one of those things that and I don't mean this disrespectfully, a lot of people probably don't think about in terms of what the benefits of sleeping properly are. We kind of take it for granted. We always hear people saying, I've had an awful night's sleep, or I haven't slept well for months, weeks, years, days. So before we look at kind of some of the practical tips that you've got for people, what are the key benefits of sleeping properly? I know our bodies need it, and you know far more than me, but what is the essential stuff our body does when we sleep, and what are the benefits of good night's sleep?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And, to extend on your point, you're so right. We really look at sleep as this thing where we close our eyes, we open our eyes, and we just get on with our day. And it's a badge of honor if we can sleep less in order to get ahead, especially in the industry that I used to come from. And, a lot of, people that I talk to in the beginning stages, it's why would I close my eyes and be unconscious and unproductive when I could wake up early, drink coffee, get on with it and get more done. But what actually happens is our biology will start to break down as we burn the candle from both ends. And it depends on the person what their motivation is. For some people, it's longevity. They want to live a longer period of time. For other people, maybe it's they don't want to get an injury risk. For other people, it's, being able to get as much done within a period of time because every single minute within a day counts and it has to be 100% productive. But what happens when we do sleep well, I'll frame it when we don't sleep well, is during sleep, we have 90-minute sleep cycles. And without getting too complicated into it, these 90-minute sleep cycles really go into light sleep, deep sleep, REM sleep, and it kind of goes back to this awake stage again. And we usually want about 4 to 5 cycles of this 90-minute sleep cycle. And if we're not getting each of these deep sleep and REM sleep stages, if we're waking up, if we can't get to sleep at the proper time, even if we feel like we've been asleep, but it's not fully restful sleep, what will start to happen is our brain won't be able to fully recover and our body won't be able to fully recover. And sort of on a biological level, this is, for example, our brain's ability to detoxify, clean out all the toxins from the day prior, consolidate memories, trying to make sense of the world, and just really fully recover, because our brain is actually more active during the REM sleep stages than it is while we are awake. So it's not that our brain's not doing anything, like it's really working overtime to really, make our body fully recovered and restored. So for the next day, we can go, really execute on our 100% self. And if we don't have this is going to manifest where, people know that, how it shows itself for themselves. So maybe they're very irritable at their children or their spouse, or maybe they just have brain fog that lasts all day. Maybe they feel anxious. Maybe they feel like they want to be able to get more done, but they can't. They don't have creativity. Becoming an effective leader for their employees, they just feel like they're not 100%. And for some people, it's a range of this stuff where, maybe it's, they feel like they need some optimization, but there's other people who need like a tremendous improvement along the right direction. And also depends as well, how long have you been suffering? Has it been going on for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? And so there's a lot of things that you can consider, but sleep is one of those things, and I call them the three amigos. You have diet, you have exercise, and you have sleep. And diet and exercise, we know a lot about that, and we know the answer is obvious. But, these things can sometimes be a little bit difficult to, really build a healthy habit around, like 3 cups of, 3 tablespoons of this, and it just gets complicated. And that's why people fall off. And likewise, going to the gym, like it is a stress on the body, and going, working out with a personal trainer, we know it's healthy for us, but a lot of us don't, just because it's difficult. But with sleep, we're sleeping well anyway. And so if we can start optimizing a lot of, just personalized tweaks, we can see tremendous improvements in just how we feel and function throughout the day. And I can go on about, just transformations of clients that I've worked with who've seen it in their life and their results as well.
So I think the important thing for me in what you just said is that even when we're sleeping, our brains are kind of working overtime on our behalf almost. So filing, storing, processing, saving memories, if you think of it almost as this big giant computer. So that's quite powerful in terms of it's not wasted time. We shouldn't think of it as lost opportunity. So exactly. You talk there about eating, exercise, sleeping. If, I don't know, I'm one of these people that thinks I don't sleep particularly well and it makes me quite anxious maybe, what things that I might be doing might be impacting my sleep? Is it the stuff I'm eating? Is it the way I'm exercising? Mm-hmm. Is it because I'm watching TV right up until I go to sleep? What kind of things will be impacting my sleep?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And the answer is it's all of it. And it's not just one thing, which would, it's unfortunate because it would just be so easy and we all be able to fix our sleep issues. But it's all these things combined. It's all the 1%ers that really add up. And for some people, it could be genetic factors or environmental factors. It could be one more so than the other. And so I'll touch on all of these. But first, really, I want to give people an idea in terms of why we don't sleep well, really what it comes down to. So on my journey, talking with a bunch of people, doing all the research, really when we can't sleep well, it's a couple things. It's either, and it depends too, are you wake up in the middle of the night, or is it more of an issue of getting to sleep? And so I'll first touch on getting to sleep. And a lot of this comes from just overthinking. Our body's full of cortisol, and we're just kind of that wired but tired feeling. And if that's the case, it could either be because of our brain neurotransmitters are just firing on overdrive. It could be because just our unconscious mind or our mind just will not stop thinking, because this will cause a chemical reaction inside of our body that induces a stress response. But it could also be too inside of our body where, our cortisol and our adrenaline are just surging so much where no matter what we try, even something as simple as a meditation, it's still not enough. And everybody has a different stress bucket load that we can handle. And for some people, they have a massive stress bucket. And those are the people that we know who can, deal with stress and just be, it's almost as if they always have a Zen-like mind, no matter what stress they're encountering. And other people, it doesn't take much stress to really put them into that state. And this kind of a good clue as to the resilience of the body. So that's getting to sleep. The more complicated one is if we're waking up periodically throughout the night. So with this type of thing, it's usually if we're getting up to go to the bathroom, are we having nightmares and kind of thrashing around while we're sleeping? But other ones to consider too when we wake up, it's either because of a blood sugar spike. So for example, our blood sugar, you can just think about it. So for the listeners, +1, -1, that's kind of where we want our blood sugar, what our body's typically used to. But if we're riding this blood sugar roller coaster of like +2, -2, +3, -3, our body's not used to that. So what it's going to do, instead of recovering our body while we sleep, it's going to tap into our body's reserves, which it's not used to. And if there's a sacrifice there, then there'll be a sacrifice in other areas. And this is just, hidden stressors at the end of the day. So that could be one piece. It could be a cortisol spike. Some people even have parasites inside of their gut, which like to come awake at nighttime. And this can cause a cortisol spike, which is, stimulatory. But it could be the unconscious mind, where we wake up and our brain's trying to process so much. But if it becomes too much and we just our brain becomes overridden with all these things, then that's when we can start to wake up in the middle of the night too. So these are just some things that we should consider. And so what do we do about that? Really, it's reducing the hidden stressors inside of our body. So what that looks like is just overall eating a clean diet. We also want to reduce blue light as much as possible, usually about 2 hours before we go to bed. Recent studies showed 2 hours of blue light or 1 hour blue light exposure before bed reduced melatonin, our master sleep hormone, by up to 90%. And that's huge, and that directly impacts our REM sleep. And REM sleep is, like I said before, our mind's ability to feel fully restored the next day. And we get that in the second half of our sleep cycle. So if we're waking up and we can't get back to sleep, then that's usually where our mind's compromised, not our deep sleep, which is more body dominant. And so that's one thing there. We want to reduce blue light. We can buy blue light blocking glasses. We also want a cool bedroom environment temperature. So, Celsius about 18 degrees, Fahrenheit about, 68 degrees. We also want to black out our bedroom as much as possible, black out, curtains. We can also do an Epsom salt bath before bed to really relax, or a hot shower. That will actually induce our body to go into a cooler state, to really help induce those better sleep cycles. And, so these are some of the things to consider. And then one just quick thing in the morning that we want to do is when we first wake up, is we want to expose our eyes to the sun for about 15 to 30 minutes as soon as we start to wake up. Light has such a heavy impact on how we feel, and it activates a bunch of, brings up our systems online. In layman's terms. So, when we can start implementing these things and just doing it consistently, because consistency does matter, then we can see, really great results in how we feel. And as long as it's tailored to our biology, because one last thing I'll just touch on is 70% of the population is a night owl, 30% is morning lark. Well, most of our work environment is tailored to the early morning, versus if these night owls, you just shift their day by 1 or 2 hours ahead, you will see their productivity just shoot through the roof. And I've seen it time and time again. So with better awareness comes better decisions. And with those better decisions comes, just you can maximize your energy output so much more throughout the day.
Amazing. Some top tips there. So when I was thinking about this podcast, there was a couple of questions that came to mind. So I'll run them past you and get your view. Is there such thing as a light sleeper?
A light sleeper? Yes, there is. We all have a genetic predisposition to either being a light sleeper or more of a deep sleeper. We know the people who can sleep like in the middle of a street and they don't wake up at all. And other people just, one minor thing will make them come awake. So it's interesting, I run genetic panels on people and we can see, are they a light sleeper or a deep sleeper? And that just gives us a window into, okay, they probably just need more support here. But yeah, that's absolutely true.
We've just had a heat wave. So any tips for sleeping in hot weather?
Yeah, the hot weather is a really difficult one. And I'm not sure about the UK, but do they have air conditioning units inside there? Typically not really.
Hotels, you're probably better off going to sleep in a hotel, and not many people at home.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation. So here's a couple of things you can do besides fans being the obvious one. There's a company called Chili Sleep. You can just Google it. And if anyone's interested, they can email me, Riley@thesleepconsultant.com, because I do have discount links that I can provide at the same time. I just don't have the code right in front of me. But that's a really good one, because what it does is will blow cold air under your covers while you sleep. And that's a really good solution to kind of, get directly to your body and make it feel that way. while you sleep throughout the night beyond just your external bedroom temperature. But besides that, I've had clients buy portable air conditioning units. It's tricky because there's different things you can do, but fans is obviously the big one. Also having a cool cloth before you go to bed, putting it on your forehead or the back of your head, sort of where your brainstem is, those are kind of the good areas to induce that. Ice packs being another obvious one, but those would probably be the best things you can do. You just have to get creative in some of those circumstances if you don't have the technology available to you.
Cool, like that. Should you have a regular bedtime? So should you try and aim to go to sleep at the same time every night?
Yes, absolutely. That's one of the most important things is our body loves consistency, and our body is all based on adaptation. Like if you think of our, ancient ancestors going back thousands of years ago, their bodies then compared to our bodies now, they really haven't changed much. The only thing that's changed is the environment around us. And so part of this kind of cracking the code to better sleep is inducing an environment that's, going more naturalistic to back then. And obviously you have to be realistic to what it is now. But for them, they would wake up with the rising of the sun and they would go to sleep with the falling of the sun most of the time. And the only light sources that they had back then was the fire and the night stars in the night sky. And that was it. But now we have so much fake sources of artificial light that's around us that our body is just not used to it. And it's really just sending our body into this overdrive that's stimulating us way more that, way more than that we're used to.
Cool. That's another good one. And sometimes you get that strange scenario where you wake up, I don't know, let's say you go to sleep at 10 o'clock at night, you wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, and you feel like you've been asleep for hours.
Yeah.
You feel totally refreshed. You think, oh, it must be 6 o'clock in the morning, but you've only been asleep for 3 hours, 4 hours. Why does that
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really interesting one. If we're waking up in the middle of the night, that time, that's usually, it's like, let's say if somebody's going to bed at 10 p.m. and they're waking up at about 1 a.m., 2 a.m., you think about, mid sleep cycle, that's typically an indication that's telling me is their body is transitioning more to that REM sleep dominant cycle state. We're always getting REM sleep throughout the night for our mind to feel fully restored. But, we're making this transition on the second latter half of sleep where it's restoring more of the mind. So if that's happening, that's usually an indication of, I'll usually tell somebody they want to do a brain dump before bed of, about 90 minutes, an hour before bedtime. Just write everything down and think about a computer. If we can just brain dump everything and have more RAM bandwidth available while we do sleep, that's more recovery time versus our brain having to just process all this garbage that's happening at the same time. But yes, that for sure can happen. If you're getting up in the middle of the night too, that's another usually good indicator why sometimes our bladder will take about 3 or 4 hours when we first go to sleep, why we're first waking up. And, a little side tip for that is, without going too much into the science, it's known to be related to a hormone called aldosterone. Because if our aldosterone isn't where it should be, we can't retain those fluids. And that's actually what's causing us to wake up to go to the bathroom. So a shortcut there is you can actually have about, a pinch of Himalayan sea salt or Celtic salt before we go to bed. And it can really help modulate and balance these minerals inside of our body to retain some of those fluids. So when we're able to do that, we can not have that feeling that we have to go to the bathroom. And so for a lot of clients I work with, when we start implementing these changes, it's not an overnight process. We still have to build that up. But, if you have a pinch of Himalayan sea salt and just maybe have a cup of warm water before you go to bed, then what you'll find is you're not having that urge to go to the bathroom all the time.
Like it. I have to get some of that. Then final one. Is there value in investing in a good mattress, a good bed base, and a good pillow?
Absolutely, there is. I always like to do that is the base. So, when first starting to work with somebody, we want to make sure their bedroom environment is good. How is their mattress? Is it, and it's personalized choice, by the way. I would say with a mattress or pillow, there's not one right answer. It is always what feels best for you. For some of my clients, a really hard style Japanese type bed or a really soft one, or you can get a mattress where you can adjust the firmness of your mattress. That's really good too. And same thing with the pillows. Some people like a soft pillow, a medium pillow, You can get, the memory foam type ones that support your neck more. Do you have pain while you sleep? These are just some of the things that you do want to consider. But I would say for sure, these are great things to consider. Now, one thing you can do with your mattress is one little tip is if you rise the head portion of your bed by about 3 inches while you sleep, you'll be able to induce a better sleep. And the reason is because while we were sleeping, like I was saying before, these garbage truck cleaners, it's known as our glymphatic system in our brain. They kind of come in, they clean up all the plaque from the day prior. And that's where we just want to rise our bed so we can really help with that detoxification process.
Excellent. And before we close, any other top tips? There's quite a few you've given throughout the podcast, but any other top tips you want to share with people?
Absolutely. There's so much that we can do to improve our sleep on so many different domains. If people go to the sleep, thesleepconsultant.com, I have tons of blogs. People can subscribe to the email newsletter. I even offer 15-minute free consults for people, for any specific things that, we'll look at that's custom tailored to their biology, whether it's their bedroom environment or anything else. So that's a great way to do it. But, other low-hanging fruit things that people can start to try is not eating about 4 to 5 hours before bed, especially like a sugary type of meal, even desserts. This can be disastrous because, like I was saying before, with blood sugar levels, where those can actually start to spike and that our body's not used to. If we have, as our last meal of the day, let's say we're going to bed about 10 p.m. and we're eating at about, 5, 6 p.m. If we can instead, have our last meal to be something like, let's say it was a steak with avocado, and if we were to have a carb like a sweet potato, this would be really good because that sweet potato is sort of a slow release carbohydrate versus something that's like extremely sugary, like a dessert, or even, something like pasta. It's something known as glycemic index. And if you have a high glycemic index, that means it's going to spike your blood sugar a lot more quickly compared to something else. And another quick tip you can do with the blood sugar with your meals is having a good fat source. So like avocado that I mentioned is very good. But if you have like coconut oil, almond butter, some of these butters that are the healthy form of fat, this can really help stabilize your blood sugar, as well as curcumin too. Curcumin is kind of the little hack. If you can put curcumin on just about everything, as long as it tastes okay, then you'll definitely be in a great place. And other quick things too, caffeine's a big one. So not having caffeine after 2 p.m., minimizing that as much as possible. Not doing any heavy workouts, 4 to 5 hours before bedtime, because this can increase our body temperature. And other things, like a light brisk walk is okay, or a light jog is fine. Those are some other good options. But the morning routine, I really want to focus with people, is very important too. What we do in the morning is equally as important as the evening time. So exposing your eyes to that bright light in the morning, first thing, is a great way to get the day started.
Brilliant. Love those tips. And to finish off, Riley, where's the best place for people to find you?
Yeah, they can just go to thesleepconsultant.com, or they can reach me directly at Riley, Riley, at thesleepconsultant.com.
And can people find you on LinkedIn as well?
Yep, you can find me on LinkedIn. So if you enter Riley Jarvis, Riley Jarvis, I'll be right there, as well as Facebook as well.
Perfect. And final question for me that everybody comes on the pod. What's the best bit of business advice you've ever been given?
Oh, that's a really good one. The best business advice I've ever been given, and this is just through my own experience, is instead of always focusing on business strategy first and all these external things, there's an infinite supply of different tips and just all these different things, which, we forget within a couple of days. Like, what did we eat for breakfast a couple of days ago? Like, most of the time, we can't recall this. And so instead, that I've had the most success with, other people have told me, and I've just seen it with other people, is if we focus on the internal first. So what does that look like? Well, investing in our health, investing in ourselves, and then from this place, when we have a strong foundation, then all these external things that we seek, for example, business strategy, business tips, and everything else, they will come much more effortlessly, because I've just seen time and time again of us trying to chase these different things, and we're just burning the candle from both ends, versus if we can be operating from this place, we're just the default state is just a 9 or 10 out of 10 version of ourselves, as cliche as that sounds. You're just able to operate, what feels like 2 out of 10 output, but you're just getting so much more done compared to before, where it just felt like, you didn't see the end of the day in sight. You just felt stressed, and you were coming from this place of, just lack instead of abundance, where it was just, everything comes to you versus you having to chase things. And if you focus on your biology, it becomes that much easier to achieve that, whatever that goal is. So I would say if you can focus on the internal first, from that place, really, study business books, strategies, whatever that is in your field, then you'll just be a lot more efficient with your time and your total output.
Amazing. Love that one. Listen, really appreciate your time coming on. I've got some great tips from this one, and we'll put your website link and other links to LinkedIn in the show notes for people to find you easily. But appreciate your time coming on, Riley, and take care, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you so much, Simon. Appreciate it.